Right, welcome back everyone. I'm just following up with a second movie about preparing our foil shapes, and this is where we left off from the last video, but just come a little bit closer, and I just wanted to, so I've worked on this one a lot more, top and bottom shape, and you can see how much material I've actually removed. And yes, there's some carbon there, but most of it is the manufacturer's finish product, which they coat the foils with. So it just gives you an idea of how much material has come off this one blade. Some other questions people have been asking me is how do you fill up large scratches? Now here's a large scratch, and you can, when I rub my nail across it, it's quite deep. So when you get large scratches like that, what I do is mix up a little bit of resin, normal epoxy resin, and you can buy this product which is a graphite powder, and what I do is put a little bit of graphite just to give it a bit of colour, and then mix it up. You can see how that looks. It turns into very much looking like carbon fibre, and then just as an example, this is a kebab stick with a very fine point, needle point, and the way you fill those really deep ones is I would just very carefully just let the resin fall off the tip and lay itself into the crack. Now, problem with this, or one of the issues you have with doing this, is once it's dry, you still have to wet and dry the excess off, and you do run the risk, obviously, if you don't use the right size block, you run the risk of sanding away material that you don't want sanded away either side of the crack. So as this very cures, at a certain point when it's still a little bit soft, what I would do is grab my blade, and this would still be a little bit rubbery, and I would carefully shear the excess off using the blade just to take most of it off, and then I'd finish it off with my wet and dry sandpaper. Just as an example too, I've got my vernier gauge here, and just to give you an idea of how much material, this starboard wing hasn't been played with yet, but just to give you an idea of how thick the trailing edge is on these, it's a good 1.5 mils thick there, closer into the fuselage 1.77, and the tip, particularly the tips on this one, is nearly, it's 1.79, 1.8, nearly 2 millimeters thick. It's quite chunky. So by removing all of this material that you see here, now I'm starting to refine up and true up this trailing edge, and I can check. I'm trying to get my trailing edge down to about 0.5. That's about 0.6. And the idea will be, once I have trued up this surface, the top surface, you can see I've taken a bit of material off here, particularly on the tip. Particularly the tip's being worked to reduce all of that thickness and drag, and also the vortex that would come off the tip as well. Once I've finished the top and the bottom using this method and coarse sandpaper, I would take it down to probably 400 grit, and then I would use my compressor and spray gun, and this product here, which is a Durapox. This is what some of the America's Cup, I think a lot of the America's Cup boats were using on their foils. And I would spray this, and then I would wet and dry that to a very fine grit sandpaper, probably 800 to 1000, and then I possibly may even look at polishing it. So, but that process is in for the next video. So that's just to answer some questions about how you fill cracks, how I deal with it, how I take off the excess, and also how I've worked a lot harder on these two surfaces, and it just gives you an idea of how much material has come off this starboard blade. Thanks. See you soon.